used to stuff that thing down his
His back
down
pocket.
his back pocket, just like with the church phone. Oh man. Hey everybody, this is Dr. William Clark here for Leadership Conversations. This is the show where we talk about leadership according to a world that matters to you. I was having a conversation with my cousin and we were talking about just male leadership in the home, and I figured, hey man, let's just stop the conversation and let's go record a podcast. So I got my cousin Curtis Clark on the line with me. Kurt, what's going on, bro?
What's up, Will?
What's up, man? So we saw each other over the weekend, and unfortunately it was because we were at our grandfather's funeral, but it wasn't a sad occasion. It was a good time because we had a chance to see each other. We had a chance to see family and friends, and people shared memories. And then our other cousin told a story about our grandfather that got us all laughing, but the thing that I took away from it was his consistency. And I ended up recording a podcast about consistency. And I wanted to, the first question I wanted to ask you about that and male leadership is, what are your reflections on Grandpa? What are your reflections on his legacy and the type of person he was from a consistency perspective?
So consistency is Grandpop's character, and that's when I think about it now. That's all I can see was consistency. Is because this man was always happy to see you. He was always happy to see you, no matter what was going on in his life. He was always happy to see you. He always had on the same clothes. So his consistency was down from a physical thing to a mental thing, a psychological. Even if it was like second nature to him to be consistent. It was as if he didn't have to think about it. It was just who he was, and he was going to be who he was. And it kind of speaks to what that generation was. They were going to be who they were. They dressed the way they dressed. And even if it didn't seem cool to us, it seemed so unorthodox to us. It was cool to him. And thinking about it now, looking all the way back then, he had some real swagger that a lot of people work hard every day to just try to manufacture. And all he had was consistency. And it was like second nature to him, so he did it effortlessly.
Man, one of the things that has been kind of huge for me as I reflected on, his consistency was, especially this year, what's been huge for me is thinking about how to be consistent in every area of my life so that I don't have to be in a position to constantly change who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So whoever I am at work, I'm the same dude at home. I'm the same dude at church. I'm the same dude at the supermarket. And I made that decision because I figured that it's easier to be the same person than to pretend to be something else in one place, something else in a different place. And it's less work. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
when you
I
think
definitely
about,
understand that.
when you think about consistency in your own life, where have you found opportunities to be consistent and where it really has worked?
I have found it to be very productive to be consistent at work, to be the one who can always say yes in my career, the one who can always be counted on to say, somebody asks, can you go on this short notice trip? And yes, Curtis is there. Curtis is able to do this piece of crap work, even though it's going to get you dirty probably, but Curtis will do it. So I've been consistent. I found it very rewarding to be consistent in that notion at work, mainly in that part of my life, in work life.
And how has that changed and impacted your life outside of work by finding consistency at work?
Well, it has shown me that I haven't been consistent in the other area. Work wise is the 9 to 5, and work is you know is how I make the bulk of my money. So being consistent is beneficial to everybody. Uh, but then it comes to my entrepreneurial side of my life, and then my home life, my family life. I saw where I was lacking in those two areas compared to my work life. And it's not because of the fact that the bulk of the money is coming from that work life. It's because I didn't set the importance of entrepreneurial or the family life as important as the work life that is generating the funds that is funding all of those things. You know what I mean? So I didn't set the importance of the family life to match or to be better, be even more consistent than the work life. I fell short on that. I've fallen short on that, and I still continue to fall short. And hopefully, I'm on that track to working that. So, along with that work life, shown me that I was actually short in other areas of my life, uh, being consistent in my work life, and that work life is somehow came natural because of a tendency to want to please in the main career that you're in. So uh, yeah, that's a new revelation for me actually.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's an awesome thought you shared. So then that segues into my next question, and that is, how should we look at male leadership in the home? What does that actually mean, or what should it mean?
Male leadership in the home means the word we've been discussing is consistency. Male leadership, and I want to say male leadership in the home should be the foundation, yeah, it should be the foundation because essentially, if we learn properly from our fathers, it was in the home, and then we would know growing up and then becoming adults that the home starts it all off. And as we move into our careers, we know that home is our base. And so, male leadership in the home, consistency is paramount. Uh, nothing, everything stops and starts with if someone is being consistent or not. If someone is not being consistent, it all stops and it all crumbles. The wife, she now has to go into panic mode, basically, and become the masculine figure. Uh, that's her natural reaction to a male being inconsistent, or the male leader, supposed leader, being inconsistent. If he is consistent, things are hitting on all cylinders. She can trust him. She can trust him with her intimacy, her vulnerability, and talking about her job at work, uh, her job at work, her her day at work. Uh, she can trust him with her frustrations. She can even trust him with her frustrations with him, and he will still be consistent in loving her enough to know that hey, he has some shortcomings, he has some flaws, and she's going to be willing. She's going to be more than willing to share them with him. But his consistency is what's going to enamel and armor. It's going to it's going to solidify her to him, to say, hey, I can say anything to this guy. and he's gonna always still be there in the morning, or he's gonna always still give me that kiss. He's gonna always do what he did while we was dating. Something, if we stay consistent all the way through. So, and a lot of us fall short, especially from dating to the transition to marriage. That leadership starts with consistency, and you can have all kind of other flaws, that come into play. You can leave the toilet seat up. You can forget all kind of things. You can, be forgetful about birthdays or anniversaries or whatever. But if you're consistent, she will cover you on that flaw. She will, and she'll cover you in public. You know, she'll speak so highly of you. She'll be that one. She'll be that situation where she can talk bad to you about you, but if somebody else talks up about you, then it won't be nothing that can be said. And we've got several examples. Our grandfather was one. Grandma, I'm sure they had their trouble, and she on her sick bed, she was talking about how good he's been to her. But I've heard plenty of times where she was trying to fuss him out. You know what I mean? And then my in-laws are another example of how she will fuss him down in front of all of us. But if we say something about Johnny to Gloria, you're gonna have some trouble. You know what I mean? And it might flip on she might feel some type of because he's been consistent, because he's been bringing the bread home, he's been bringing the money home, he comes home, he's there, he interacts with the kids. Consistency in whatever it is, in that positive way. So that's it. The home starts, and everything builds off of that. Everything builds off of that, positive or negative. If you're consistently negative, if you're consistently abusive, the negative reactions from that will build off of that. Those consequences will come. Those consequences kill whatever the future is. If you are consistently positive, the ramifications are so endless. It's almost like an Abraham effect. Like generations from now, the consistency from this point will affect, the great grands and their families. You know what I mean? Just from how you was consistent with your home.
When you were talking about consistency, that made me think about even in our organizations where the consistency of a leader dictates the culture of an organization, and the inconsistency of a leader, it dictates the culture of an organization. Either way, what you're getting at is consistency is king in all situations. The question that people may be wondering now is, I hear you, I get it, but how do I build consistency in my own leadership as an individual, where my home life wins, my personal life wins, my work life wins, etc.? How do I build that consistency?
Yeah, that's the challenge. That's the challenge. That's the big challenge. That's the big picture challenge. So we have all these lives, especially in 2018. We have personal, we have careers, we have philanthropic lives, charitable, where we're volunteering, and we're trying to be hitting on all cylinders on everything. But we are nothing without our faith. I believe we are nothing without our faith. So as a Christian, you are always looking to the higher power. You are always looking to Jesus Christ, God, as the ultimate source. Us as humans, we have no power at all to hit on all cylinders in all of those facets of life. And so as we put our belief and our faith in that power source essentially gives us the will, the strength, the energy to do. Because essentially we have the belief and we have the knowledge of what we're supposed to do, then we have to just do. And it takes work. Uh, and at, at the end of the day, simplicity, we believe, and then we have to work. And it takes, bar none, just physical work. Uh, in the simplest form, it takes maybe taking notes of everything you want to do in a week or maybe in a day. And everything you want to do in a day, you want to go to work for 8 hours. You want to meet your children back at the house and be at home with them for the next 2 hours. And then you want to at least have some good time with your spouse for an hour. And all throughout that day, you know, say if you lay that out on a notebook, and this is layman's terms, this is the work, you know, just writing that out for this one day. I'm gonna be at work for 8 hours, and then I'm gonna be at home with my children for 2 hours. And by the time it's bedtime, I want to at least be with my spouse, spend some quality time with her. So the hard work is figuring how I can overlap some of that. So maybe at lunchtime I'll text my wife and say, "Hey baby, how you doing?" That'll have ramifications for later on. Maybe that might start a small conversation during the day in the midst of it all, you know, and that'll also have ramifications of just keeping a fire going throughout the day. But there is no magic pill to being consistent, being a great leader, and hitting on all cylinders. There is just hard work. There's belief, affirmation, and then hard work. Affirmation being believing and then saying it, and just saying it until it's a habit. Which the work may be waking up in the morning and doing 5 minutes of meditation so that you can get started, so that you can be in a good mindset rather than a social media mindset where we're waking up to our phones and looking at the news or looking at Facebook and Instagram instead of saying good morning. You know, the work may be waking and just saying good morning. The hard work for me the last couple of weeks has been waking up and having a glass of water, because for some reason I believe that having a glass of water after sleeping for 6 hours, my body's dehydrated, hasn't had anything, so I need that glass of water just to get started before I even brush my teeth. Get up, out the bed, and for some people, and I remember growing up, getting out the bed and hitting my knees to the floor. I remember that. I don't even do that. I say it while I'm in bed, so my knees don't hit the floor. You know, by the time I'm moving out the bed, you know, while I'm stirring, I'm saying thank you, Jesus. And personal experience, I hear my wife doing that too. When she's stirring around, I can hear her whispering, you know, her thank you, Jesus. Thank you for her life and, you know, her gratefulness. So that's encouraging. So there's no magic pill to hitting on all cylinders and being the greatest at everything. Like, and you're gonna fall just about in everything, in every situation. If you're given 90% out of 100% to your work life, and only 10% is going to the rest of your life. And so, you know how that works. Career is going, you know, people make those choices all the time. They're giving all their energy to their career. They don't have time for family or, you know, any other kind of life, a part of their life. So, you know, balance on all cylinders takes that belief, me personally, but that belief, that affirmation, and then the work. And the work can be as tedious as sit down on a Sunday to map out your week, or every day it can start as basic as every day I'm gonna start off with a 5-minute meditation. And that might be where it starts, and then it can expand from there. Whatever your ritual may be, you know.
Well, I was going to ask you, give us 3 tips to strengthen male leadership. I ended up capturing 4 from you. And for those of you listening, I'm going to summarize this because I think that what Kurt shared has relevance in our work life, personal life, and our parenting and all that we do. So if you're thinking about strengthening your leadership as a man at home, what Kurt and I talked about, and I don't know if we captured this in this conversation, we definitely talked about it before the podcast, was the importance of getting it right at home because it will have a trickle effect elsewhere. Right. So here are the 4 things I took away in terms of strengthening male leadership. Have faith in the outcome you're trying to get. So every man, if you're married, you're trying to have a strong relationship with your spouse and a strong relationship with your children, strong relationship with your parents, strong relationship with people in your faith community or whoever you spend time with. There's a desire to see something positive come out of that. And if that is true, then there's something on you. There's a requirement in you or for you to have faith in that outcome. Now, in terms of what faith actually means, faith means action. You believe that something is going to be the case, then you have to behave as if it's going to be the case and expect that outcome. We don't go out to our cars and have faith that our car is going to turn on as soon as we turn the ignition. Our faith is so blind when it comes to our vehicles that we just put the key in, it turns and it cranks and we go. And what I'm hearing Curtis say is that when it comes to building male relationship, there needs to be strong faith, strong action following our belief and the outcome we want, particularly in our marriages and in our homes. Second thing I heard was it takes hard work to become consistent. Right, that could probably be 2 or 3 bullets in and of itself, but we combine it to one. It takes hard work to become consistent. Consistency in one's leadership is what makes the difference. I remember saying that all the time to people I was mentoring, teaching, consulting, that you can be whatever you want to be as a leader. There's no right or wrong. There's no philosophy or strategy that works across the board. Leadership, one is influence, 2 is based upon your personality. But if you're not consistent in whatever methodology you subscribe to, then people will not take you seriously. If you're a jerk, be a jerk all the time. If you're a softy, be a softy all the time. If you're a middle of the road person, be that all the time. If you flip-flop every other situation that pops up, then people don't know how to handle you and they try to avoid you or just ignore you at all costs, which means that when you are trying to be serious, people don't know if you are serious or not. So they just ignore and keep it moving. From a male perspective, in your home, in your marriage, in your parenting, Curtis was sharing that it takes hard work to be consistent. And in that, he ended up saying, do the same thing every day, all the time. Okay. So if it's staying in contact with your wife during a busy day, send a text message every morning, at lunchtime, and before you come home, engaging in conversation every day, same time, without fail. Now, for someone like me, if you're like me, you're constantly busy. If you're like Kurt, you're constantly busy during the day. Setting aside those moments, regardless of what meetings you're in, regardless of who's sitting next to you, whether you're in an elevator, whether you're on break, whether you're not, being consistent in communicating, being consistent in showing love, being consistent in being patient, being consistent in being long-suffering. That's a biblical term. But whatever it is, be consistent, and it takes hard work. The third thing Kurt talked about is execute. Do what you plan to do. So if it's all about strengthening male leadership in your home, if it's all about improving the relationship with your kids or your wife, if it's all about being better with a schedule of cutting the grass every 2 weeks as opposed to once a quarter, then execute, right? So you already know you got the faith in the outcome. You already know it's going to take work to be consistent. Execute. Just do it. right? There's nothing more powerful than a man that has a plan and he executes it. But then Kurt closes out by saying something else at the tail end of his talk, and that was, you got to balance. You got to find balance, because we are working men. It's a wonderful thing to be a working man, providing for your family, whatever that job is, take pride in it. It's a wonderful thing to have a family to provide for. It's a wonderful thing to have your health, but it's another thing to maintain your health, right? And we all got hobbies to keep us engaged. And Kurt said, listen, in spite of all that, we got to find balance. So if you want to strengthen your male leadership, have faith, pursue consistency in your work. It's going to take hard work, execute, and balance. Kurt, any parting thoughts that you want to share with the listeners about male leadership in the home and how to strengthen it?
Yes, just know that you are not. Just know that you are not. Going to get it off, so it's not going to just work perfectly. It's not going to happen seamlessly. It's definitely not going to. You're not going to balance everything all the time the right way. So embrace those failures, embrace flaws, and know that, you know, you can always, if you get a chance to wake up in the morning, then you always have a chance to do better. That's it.
Awesome. This is Dr. William Clark with Curtis Clark for Leadership Conversations, guys. I hope you found this helpful. We'll see you in the next show. Peace.